They say some people don't know what they have until it's gone. But my wife didn't just lose what she had. She handed it to someone who actually valued it. My name is Tyler Brennan. I'm 27 years old, a senior network administrator pulling in $78,000 a year at a mid-sized tech firm downtown. Not bad for a guy who started fixing computers in his garage. But none of that matters now. What matters is that I was married to my high school sweetheart, Stephanie, for 5 years. Was being the operative phrase. Let me take you back to where it all began, because understanding how we started makes what happened later cut so much deeper. I met Stephanie Carson in junior year chemistry class. Picture this, me, the quiet computer kid with thick glasses and social anxiety, paired with the most popular girl in our grade for a semester-long project. Stephanie was everything I wasn't. Confident, outgoing, effortlessly beautiful with that long blonde hair and smile that could light up a room. She needed tutoring in chemistry. I needed someone to actually talk to me without looking at me like I was some kind of lab experiment myself. What started as study sessions in the library became something real. She'd laugh at my terrible science jokes. I'd help her understand molecular structures. Slowly, impossibly, we became friends. Then more than friends. By prom, we were inseparable. She chose me, the computer nerd, over the football captain who'd been chasing her for months. College nearly broke us. She went to state for communications. I stayed local for computer science. 2 hours apart might as well have been 2 different planets. But we made it work with weekend visits, daily phone calls, and the kind of naive faith that only teenage love can sustain. When she graduated, she moved back home. When I graduated, I proposed. Our wedding was small and perfect. 22 years old, both of us, standing in her parents' backyard under white Christmas lights, promising forever to each other. Her father walked her down the aisle with tears in his eyes. Her mother cried through the entire ceremony. Even her little sister Emma was sobbing into her tissues. Everyone believed in us. Hell, I believed in us. The early years were everything I'd dreamed of. We bought our first house together. Well, I bought it. I'd been saving since high school, working part-time jobs and living at home to build up a down payment. The 3-bedroom colonial on Maple Street wasn't fancy, but it was ours. I put it solely in my name, using my pre-marriage savings, but that was just paperwork. In my heart, everything I had was ours. Stephanie quit her receptionist job after our 2nd year of marriage. "I want to focus on building our home," she said, and it made perfect sense to me. She'd cook dinner, keep the house beautiful, maybe start a family soon. I supported her completely. My parents had shown me what real partnership looked like. Dad working as a mechanic, Mom as a nurse, both contributing in their own ways. I thought Stephanie and I had that same understanding. For a while we did. But somewhere around our 6th year of marriage, things started to shift. Subtle changes at first, easy to dismiss. Stephanie joined a gym and started going religiously, 5 days a week. She began going out more with friends, girls' nights that stretched later and later. She'd come home smelling like alcohol and cigarettes, laughing about stories she wouldn't quite explain fully. "You should come out with us sometime," I'd suggest, and she'd wave me off. "It's just girl talk, Tyler. You'd be bored," she would reply. She started dropping comments that made my stomach twist. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't settled down so young," she'd say while scrolling through Facebook, looking at college friends posting pictures from bars and concerts. "I feel like I missed out on so much." Her phone became a permanent fixture in her hand, always face down on the table, always with her in the bathroom, always silent when I was around, but constantly buzzing when she thought I wasn't paying attention. When I'd ask about late-night texts, she'd say it was work or family or friends with relationship drama. I suggested date nights, weekend getaways. She always had excuses. Too tired from the gym, plans with friends. "Maybe next week, Tyler," she'd always respond. The worst part was how she made me feel crazy for noticing. When I'd point out that she seemed distant, She'd accuse me of being clingy. "You're imagining things," became her favorite phrase. My upbringing had taught me that commitment meant something, that marriage wasn't disposable. My parents had been together for 32 years. They'd shown me what real love looked like: steady, faithful, enduring. I thought Stephanie shared these values. I was an idiot. That last Tuesday morning, 7 years into our marriage, I woke up to an empty bed. Stephanie's side was cold. I called her name. No answer. Walking downstairs, I saw a folded piece of paper on the kitchen table with my name written across it. I opened it, read the first line, and my entire world collapsed in the space between one heartbeat and the next. "Tyler, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. I married too young and I've never been with anyone but you. I need to explore other options before I can commit to having children and spending the rest of my life with one person. I'll be staying with friends for a while to figure things out. Please don't try to contact me. I need space to discover who I am when I'm not somebody's wife. I'll come back when I'm ready to talk about our future. Stephanie." I read it 3 times before the words actually penetrated. Each reading felt like another punch to the gut. The clinical detachment of it. The way she wrote about our marriage like it was a subscription service she could pause whenever convenient. The assumption that I'd be waiting here like some loyal dog when she decided she was done exploring. But what gutted me most was that final line. "I'll come back when I'm ready." Not if. When. Like it was a given that I'd still be here, that our marriage would still be here, that she could just walk back into the life she'd abandoned whenever she felt like it. The strangest thing was how calm I felt. I wasn't crying, wasn't screaming, wasn't throwing things. I was just empty, numb, like my emotional system had overloaded and shut down completely. I got dressed, went to work, sat in meetings, fixed network problems, answered emails, functioned like a human being while feeling completely disconnected from everything around me. That evening, I called Stephanie's parents. Robert Carson answered on the second ring. "Tyler, how are you, son?" He greeted me warmly. "Robert, I need to tell you something. Stephanie left this morning. She left a note saying she needs to explore being with other people before committing to our marriage," I explained. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "What?" His voice was barely a whisper when he finally responded. "She said she married too young and needs to see what else is out there before having kids with me," I continued. "Jesus Christ, Tyler, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say," he replied, and I could hear him breathing heavily. "Has she called you? Explained anything?" he asked. "No contact. The note said not to reach out to her," I answered. "This is insane. Linda's going to lose her mind." "Have you talked to Emma?" he suggested. Emma, Stephanie's younger sister, 24 years old, a dental hygienist with her life together in ways Stephanie apparently didn't. Emma had always been sweet to me, always seemed to genuinely like me as a person, rather than just tolerating me as her sister's husband. "Not yet. I wanted to call you first," I replied. "Tyler, listen to me. You're family. Whatever happens between you and Stephanie, you're still family to us. This is not okay. What she's doing is not okay," he declared firmly. After hanging up, I stared at my phone for 10 minutes before calling Emma. "Tyler?" She sounded surprised when she answered. "Is everything okay?" she asked with concern. "Not really. Stephanie left this morning. She left a note saying she needs to explore being with other men before committing to our marriage," I explained. "She what?" The shock in her voice was genuine, complete. "Tyler, no. Oh my God, are you serious?" she exclaimed. "I have the note right here," I confirmed. That's insane. That's not... God, I knew she was being weird lately, but I never thought..." Her voice trailed off, then came back stronger. "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Company? Food? I can come over," she offered immediately. "You don't have to..." I started to protest. "I'm already getting my keys. Give me 20 minutes." she interrupted decisively. Emma arrived in 18 minutes carrying bags of Thai food, my favorite, which she'd somehow remembered from family dinners. She took one look at me standing in the doorway and immediately wrapped me in a hug that lasted longer than was probably appropriate for a sister-in-law. But it was the first human warmth I'd felt all day. We sat on the couch, eating pad thai and trying to make sense of what Stephanie had done. I noticed she'd been restless, Emma admitted quietly. She kept complaining about settling down too young, about feeling like she'd missed out on her 20s. But Tyler, I told her she was being ridiculous. I told her you were a great guy and that she should appreciate what she had, she explained. You said that to her? I asked, surprised. Multiple times. She'd go on these rants about how all her single friends were having adventures and she was stuck playing house. I kept telling her that those friends were also lonely and dating losers, that what you two had was real, she replied with conviction. Over the following weeks, Emma became my lifeline. She checked in every day, sometimes just a text to make sure I was eating, sometimes showing up with dinner or inviting me out for coffee. She never made it feel like pity or obligation. It felt like genuine care from someone who actually wanted to spend time with me. We'd talk for hours, about work, about books, about our families, about everything except Stephanie, until one evening when Emma brought it up herself. Can I ask you something? Were you happy? Really happy, I mean. Before all this, she inquired gently. I thought about it honestly. The last year? No. I was trying to be happy. I was trying to make her happy. But she'd become someone I didn't recognize. Someone who seemed to resent everything about our life together, I answered truthfully. She did resent it. She used to call me and complain about how boring you were, how predictable your life was, how she felt trapped, Emma revealed, looking at me with something like pain in her eyes. I always defended you. I always told her she was lucky to have someone stable and loyal and kind, she added firmly. 6 weeks after Stephanie left, I realized something that should have terrified me, but instead felt like the most natural thing in the world. I hadn't thought about Stephanie in 3 days. Instead, I'd been thinking about Emma, about her laugh when I told stupid jokes, about how she listened when I talked, really listened, about how comfortable it felt when she was in my house, in my space, in my life. I was falling for my wife's sister, and I wasn't going to fight it anymore. I invited Emma over for dinner on a Thursday night, not as the friend who'd been supporting me through the worst time of my life, but as something more. I cooked, really cooked, not just ordered takeout. Herb-crusted chicken with roasted vegetables and homemade mashed potatoes. The kind of meal Stephanie always said was, too much effort for just us. Emma arrived with a bottle of wine and that smile that had become the best part of my days. She was wearing a blue sundress that brought out her eyes, and she'd done something different with her hair. For the first time since she'd been coming over, it felt like a date. "This smells amazing," she said, following me into the kitchen. "When did you learn to cook like this?" she asked admiringly. "I've always known how. Stephanie just never wanted me to bother," I replied. "Her loss," Emma responded, and something in the way she said it made my heart speed up. We ate at the dining room table instead of on the couch, with actual candles and the good china that hadn't been used in months. The conversation flowed easily. It always did with Emma. But there was an undercurrent tonight that we'd both been dancing around for weeks. "Emma," I said as we finished the main course, "I need to tell you something." She set down her fork, suddenly serious. "Okay," she replied quietly. "I want to thank you for everything you've done these past 2 months, for being here, for caring, for making sure I didn't disappear into my own head," I began earnestly. "Tyler, that's what friends do." She started to protest. "You're more than a friend," I interrupted, the words coming out quietly but firmly. "You've been there every single day. You've cared about me more in the last 8 weeks than Stephanie did in the last year of our marriage." Emma's cheeks flushed pink. "Tyler," she whispered, I reached across the table and took her hand. I'm not saying this to make things weird between us. I just want you to know that you matter to me, not as Stephanie's sister. You matter to me as Emma, I said sincerely. She stared down at our joined hands for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. You matter to me too, she confessed softly. Over the next month, we spent almost every evening together. Sometimes at my house, sometimes at her apartment, sometimes just walking through the park or getting coffee downtown. One night, we went to see a movie, and when I drove her home, neither of us wanted the evening to end. We sat in her driveway talking until nearly midnight. When she finally reached for the door handle, I caught her hand. Emma, I called softly. She turned to look at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my breath catch. Permission. Hope. The same feeling that had been building between us for weeks. I kissed her. Soft at first, tentative, giving her every opportunity to pull away. Instead, she kissed me back with a sweetness that made my chest ache. When we finally broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. Is this wrong? She whispered. She left me, I said firmly. She chose to walk away. I know, but she's my sister, she replied with uncertainty. She made her choice, Emma. I'm making mine, I declared with conviction. Emma moved some belongings into the house gradually. Not a dramatic announcement, just small things that made sense. A toothbrush, some clothes for when she stayed over, her favorite coffee mug. It felt natural, organic, like she belonged there in ways Stephanie never quite had. While our relationship deepened, I was taking care of practical matters. The divorce attorney I consulted confirmed what I'd suspected. Since the house was solely in my name, purchased with my pre-marriage savings, Stephanie had no claim to it. With no children and Stephanie having contributed nothing financially for the past 3 years, the divorce would be straightforward. She abandoned the marriage, the lawyer explained professionally. Combined with her own written admission that she left to explore other options, she has no leverage here. I had the papers drawn up but didn't file them yet. I was waiting. I knew Stephanie would come back eventually, probably when her adventure got expensive or lonely or both. I wanted to be ready. I also changed the locks, consolidated our shared bank accounts into my name only, removed her from my health insurance. It wasn't vindictive. It was practical. She'd chosen to leave. I was choosing to move forward. Emma knew about all of it. She wasn't jealous or insecure about Stephanie's inevitable return. If anything, she seemed grimly satisfied that I wasn't sitting around waiting like a faithful dog. She's going to lose her mind when she finds out, Emma said one evening as we cooked dinner together. About us, I mean, she clarified. I stopped chopping vegetables and looked at her. Are you okay with that? With whatever happens when she comes back? I asked. Emma's smile was small but fierce. Tyler, my sister threw away the best thing that ever happened to her. She doesn't get to be upset when someone else recognizes your worth, she replied with determination. It might get ugly, I warned. Let it get ugly. She made her choice 3 months ago. You've made yours. She doesn't get to walk back in and pretend there aren't consequences, she responded firmly. You know she's going to lose her mind when she finds out, right? Emma added with a knowing look. I smiled grimly. Good. Let her feel what I felt when I read that note, I replied. Exactly 3 months after Stephanie left, Emma and I were in the living room when we heard a car pull into the driveway. We exchanged a knowing look. We both knew this moment would come. I walked to the door, divorce papers already in my jacket pocket. Emma stood beside me, no longer hiding. The knock came. I opened the door. Stephanie stood there with her suitcase, mascara smudged, looking like someone who'd just realized she'd made the worst mistake of her life. She was right. Stephanie stood at the door, suitcase in hand, hair different, shorter, darker, makeup smudged from crying, eyes red and desperate. Her first words carried an assumption that would shatter within seconds. "Tyler, I'm home," she declared, as if nothing had changed. The audacity of that word, home, hit me like a physical blow. 3 months of silence, of abandonment, and she stood there calling this place home like she'd never left. Like the note on the kitchen table had been some minor misunderstanding instead of a declaration of war on our marriage. I didn't move, didn't speak. My silence was more powerful than anger would have been. Stephanie's eyes drifted past me into the house, and she saw Emma in the kitchen making coffee, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts. The sight hit her like a sledgehammer. "Emma, why are you here?" she asked with growing confusion. Emma walked forward calmly, stood beside me with natural intimacy, and delivered the line that shattered Stephanie's world. "I live here now," she stated matter-of-factly. Stephanie's face drained of color. "What?" she gasped in disbelief. The horror, the dawning realization, it all hit at once. My voice was cold, emotionless when I spoke. "You left. You made your choice. I made mine." Stephanie's desperation erupted like a dam bursting. "Tyler, please. I made a mistake. I realize that now. I want to come home. I want us to work on this," she pleaded frantically. She was crying, mascara running, hands shaking as she reached for me. I didn't flinch. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the envelope of divorce papers, handed them to her. "What's this?" she asked, though she knew, but she was denying reality. "Divorce papers. Sign them," I ordered coldly. Stephanie's hands shook as she opened the envelope, read the first page. The reality of permanent consequences hit her hard. "Tyler, no. Please. I love you. I was confused. I just needed time," she begged desperately. I cut her off with brutal precision. "You had time. You chose to throw away 7 years for strangers. Now you're dealing with the consequences." "I made a mistake. People make mistakes." Stephanie's voice rose to a shriek, desperate and grasping. Emma stepped forward then, and this moment was critical. Emma wasn't catty or cruel, she was simply honest. "You didn't make a mistake, Stephanie. You made a choice. You walked away from a good man because you were selfish. And now he's found someone who actually values him," she declared calmly. Stephanie turned on her sister with venom. "You're sleeping with my husband?" she accused angrily. Emma's response was calm, final. "Ex-husband. As soon as you sign those papers," she corrected firmly. Stephanie collapsed to her knees on the doorstep, sobbing with complete breakdown. "Please, Tyler, please, give me another chance. I have nowhere to go. I spent all my money. I have nothing," she cried desperately. This detail revealed what her exploration actually was. Probably spending money on hotels, bars, dates with other men, attempting a lifestyle she couldn't afford. I looked down at her with no pity, no anger, just absolute finality. "Sign the papers. Leave them in the mailbox. Don't come back," I commanded coldly. I closed the door. Inside, Emma squeezed my hand supportively. Outside, we heard Stephanie pounding on the door, sobbing, begging. We didn't open it. I made coffee. Emma sat beside me. We waited in silence. After an hour, the pounding stopped. A car engine started. Stephanie left. 2 weeks later, signed divorce papers appeared in the mailbox. Stephanie signed everything. She had no leverage, no claim, nothing. My attorney confirmed it was finalized quickly due to the clean circumstances. No children, no shared property, no financial entanglement. Stephanie got absolutely nothing, but she wasn't done trying. 2 weeks after the divorce was final, Stephanie returned late at night. She was thinner, exhausted, desperate. She knocked. I opened the door with Emma behind me. "Tyler, please, I need help. I need money. Just $1,000. I haven't eaten in days. I have nowhere to go," she begged pathetically. My response was the final nail. "F off, Stephanie," I said with finality. Emma added without malice, just truth. "Get a job, like the rest of us," she suggested simply. I closed the door again. We didn't open it again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic. It's just watching someone realize they threw away something irreplaceable, and that you're happier without them. 1 year ago today, I woke up to an empty bed and a note that destroyed everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the woman I'd married. Today, I wake up to Emma's arm draped across my chest, her face peaceful in the morning light streaming through our bedroom window. Our bedroom, our house, our life. I'm 28 now. Emma and I have been married for 6 months. A small ceremony at the courthouse with just family and close friends. Real friends, the kind who knew what Stephanie had done and celebrated the fact that I'd found something better. Her parents were there, crying happy tears this time. Even Robert and Linda Carson, Stephanie's parents, were there, welcoming me back into their family with open arms. "You were always the son we wanted," Robert told me at the small reception afterward. "We just got confused about which daughter was smart enough to appreciate you," he admitted with regret. Work has been good to me. The promotion to network security lead came with a bump to $88,000 a year, plus better benefits. Emma still works as a dental hygienist at the practice downtown, and she loves it. We're partners in every sense of the word, financially, emotionally, practically. She contributes, she participates, she shows up. We've been renovating the house together, making it truly ours instead of a museum of my failed marriage. New paint, new furniture, new memories. The master bedroom where Stephanie used to complain about everything is now bright and warm, filled with Emma's laughter and our shared dreams. We're talking seriously about kids, something that feels natural and exciting with Emma, whereas with Stephanie it always felt like an obligation I was pushing for alone. Stephanie's trajectory has been exactly what you'd expect from someone who traded stability for novelty. She works 2 part-time jobs now, cashier at a grocery store and hostess at a chain restaurant on the weekends. She lives in a studio apartment across town, the kind of place where the walls are thin and the neighbors are loud and the parking lot floods when it rains. Her social media, which Emma occasionally checks out of morbid curiosity, tells the story of someone trying desperately to convince herself she's happy. Photos of empty cocktails with captions about living my best life, selfies with forced smiles and expensive makeup she probably can't afford, posts about knowing your worth and not settling for less, the kind of empty empowerment slogans people use when they've realized they've settled for much, much less than what they had. Her parents barely speak to her anymore. They're civil at Christmas and birthdays, but the disappointment radiates off them. They've fully embraced Emma and me as the couple they should have always recognized. Linda sends Emma recipes and calls to check on us. Robert and I go fishing on weekends sometimes, and he never mentions his older daughter unless I bring her up first. Emma's relationship with her sister is completely non-existent. They haven't spoken since that night on the doorstep 8 months ago. Stephanie can't forgive Emma for stealing me, completely unable to acknowledge that she'd thrown me away first. She sees betrayal where there was only abandonment and consequences. The few mutual friends we had have mostly chosen sides, and those sides weren't difficult to pick. In a small city like ours, news travels fast. Everyone knows what happened, that Stephanie left her devoted husband to explore other men and came back to find him with her sister. The judgment has been swift and permanent. People remember loyalty. They remember faithfulness. They remember which spouse destroyed a 7-year marriage for a 3-month adventure. Stephanie texts me occasionally, usually late at night when loneliness and alcohol collide. Apologies, regrets, begging for just one conversation to explain everything. I never respond. I've blocked her number, but she finds new ones. Emma knows about the texts and isn't threatened. We laugh about the desperation sometimes, though not cruelly. There's no joy in watching someone self-destruct, even someone who deserves it. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't satisfaction in knowing she understands now what she gave up. That every night in her empty studio apartment, She's forced to confront the reality that her adventure led nowhere while I built a real life with someone who actually wanted to be part of it. People have asked if I feel guilty, about Emma, about how fast we moved, about the fact that I was planning my future with her sister while Stephanie was still out there somewhere, sleeping with strangers and spending money she didn't have. I don't. Stephanie didn't leave because of Emma. She left because she valued novelty over loyalty, excitement over stability, the fantasy of what she might find over the reality of what she had. Emma didn't steal me. She was there when I needed someone, and real connection grew from genuine care and compatibility. We didn't sneak around. We weren't unfaithful. We were two people who found each other in honest circumstances and chose to build something together. Emma showed me what real loyalty looks like, what real partnership feels like, what it means to be with someone who doesn't take you for granted, who doesn't treat you like a backup plan, who doesn't make you feel like you're lucky they're settling for you. Stephanie wanted to explore. She wanted to see what else was out there. She found out. 3 months of bar hookups and expensive dinners with men who disappeared when the novelty wore off. 3 months of pretending to be someone she wasn't, trying to keep up with a lifestyle she couldn't afford, chasing a fantasy that existed only in her imagination. And what did she find? That the grass isn't greener, that excitement fades, that the single life looks a lot more fun from the inside of a stable marriage than it does from a studio apartment at 2 in the morning when you're 29 years old and starting over with nothing. She learned what she had when it was gone. But I learned something better. That sometimes what you think you've lost was just making room for what you actually needed. To anyone reading this, anyone who might be going through something similar, don't wait for people who don't value you. Don't give second chances to people who chose to leave. Don't put your life on hold for someone who's treating your relationship like a convenience store, something they can walk away from and expect to find exactly the same when they decide to come back. Life's too short. The right person is out there, sometimes closer than you think. I'm living proof of that. They say some people don't know what they have until it's gone. Stephanie learned that lesson, but I learned something better. That sometimes what you thought you lost was just making room for what you actually needed. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.